The story begins and really is about Naomi. It's about this woman who had a great life, but there was a famine, and so they moved to this area with the Moabites. And the Israelis at the time, those who came from land of Judah, they were not happy with the Moabites. They're often in conflict and war. So this wasn't like we really want to go there. This was a difficult placement. So here they are, they're going there, they're trying just to survive, and then they have their sons, 2 strapping sons, and a husband, and so then they take wives, and everything seems to be just going so great, and then all the guys die out. And then they're stuck. And Naomi did a really wonderful thing. She had the right to say that, no, you have to stay with me and care for me. She said, no, you go. Take care of yourselves. Go marry somewhere else. Stay with your people. Well, I'm going back. And of course, Orpah finally says, okay. But Ruth says, no. At the very end, I will be with you. I will sacrifice. I will give my all so you are taken care of. I will forget myself in the midst. And so instead of the book being called Naomi, it is called Ruth. And we see this sacrifice. If you've never read the book of Ruth, it's one of my favorite books of the Bible. You should read it sometime. And if you get caught with the name, just kind of pretend you go through. In fact, she was so faithful, she was so willing to do the right thing that actually she becomes, and she goes off later, and because Naomi tells her, she goes and lays with a man and gets married, and she becomes the great grandparent of King David. So if she hadn't done that, what might have happened to her? She might just die in the land where she was. But she was faithful, and because of that, good things happen. Well, people of God, when we are faithful to, good things happen. We brought up names of the faithful who've gone before us. You talked about crosses that you give to people that they hold on to. How many crosses have you given out so far?
I've purchased 8,000.
8,000 crosses. Really? Wow. Are in the hands of people. And one of the faithful that was lifted up, Karen Kuhlman, the last day, what was she holding on to? And her kids told her that cross. Because we are faithful. Karen Kuhlman, a faithful person who prayed for her kids and her grandkids every day, and to her dying breath, she believed. That's what we're called to do. We're called to believe. We're called to do great things for other people, even if nobody ever knows our name. We will never have a book of the Bible named after us. I'm just telling you now. There will never be the book of Jeffry. Maybe Leno. That'd be a great book, I think. The book of Leno. Maybe, just maybe, I doubt it. But might we make a difference that somebody might look back and say, wow, that person made an impact on me. My time, my giving, my energy that was given out of sacrifice, not for glory, not to have a room named after me. And I never want to have a fellowship hall named after me. I never want to be Jeffrey Fellowship Hall. That just sounds weird. I would rather people know that I was a good person to them. That when a person like Ryan calls me up because he's about to go in for brain surgery, that he knows I will come and be with him at his bedside. That if somebody calls and needs prayer, that I will pray for them. I want to be that kind of giver. They used to call me, my nickname at Flow and Grace Church was The Giver. I don't know why they came up with that, so I didn't pretty much take it. But I love to give. I love to be generous. And I don't like to always have a fanfare. It feels good when people say thank you, sure. But that's what we're called to be. We're called to be those saints who even may be unnamed. In this time of stewardship and all saints, we're reminded of those who have sacrificed not just to build the church for themselves or the people, but for those to come. We were cleaning out our closets here at church, and that was fun. We found this file cabinet that we could not move. Yeah, and it was locked, and so we got a locksmith, and we unlocked it, and it was full of records of the church. And it's a fireproof file cabinet. And it had really cool stuff in it. And we were pulling out stuff and looking at names. we were looking at names of people who gave to their church with their time, their talent, their treasure, and you don't even know their names, but you're sitting as a result of the work and sacrifice they gave. You're sitting in a pew that somebody paid for, probably wasn't you. Or maybe it was you. Actually, this is a fairly new space, but there are spaces of the church that people have sacrificed to build and grow, and they did it not for their glory, but for God's and God's alone. So the thing I found in here was this. It was the financial ledger from 1898 to 1905. Now, I'm so glad that I was not a pastor in 1900 and 1901, because the way this church seemed to have done it was people decided if they wanted to pay the pastor some money that day. So, here's the ledger, and the pastor's salary in 1900, in October 14th, Mrs. Follett gave $1. So you know how we put $1 in the plate? Mrs. Follett gave $1 to the church, said this is for the pastor's salary. So in the month of October, he made $1. Now in November, they got a little bit more generous. Stephen Taylor gave $4. Mrs. Follett again gave $1. And Mr. Fuller gave $10. So he made $15 in the month of November. It was a boom year for that pastor. Now December came, and Mrs. Follett was first on the ledger. She gave $1. And Davis gave 10, and Smith gave 10, and Taylor gave 5, and Churchill all the way down. And then it gets to the bottom, and there was somebody who was so generous. Daniel Lee gave $30. In today's money, that will be $1,126.07. That pastor got rich in December. But I'm looking at this ledger, and I'm just seeing the faithful giving. And what strikes me is Mrs. Follett was first every month to give her $1. And that might have been a big amount of money for her at the time. And she gave it. So the church could go on. Now, I don't know how much they knew Mrs. Follett here. I don't know what she did. But because of her faithfulness, this church exists today. Some of you have already handed in your cards. Because of your faithfulness, this church will be here when your grandkids are here. When their grandkids are here. And hopefully when their grandkids are here. This church will continue not for our sake, but for those to come. And these are the pastors who benefited from there. So the first guy is Marshall Dix. And he was a pastor here, and so he got the $1 in October or November. and then he got all the rest. And the other person below him is John Robinson. And he was our pastor here during that time. But those are people who've gone before us to make this work. Now, I always look this up. I might have mentioned him before. There's a saint in my life that I don't know what he did for the church. I don't know how much he worked on the church. I think he was very faithful. He was always there. And his name was Ray Bice. And Ray Bice would always stand there, and he would welcome us in. He was a big, tall guy. And every time I came to church, he was a magician as well as a politician, as well as a construction guy. He was just everything. And he would always bend down, and he'd pull a nickel out of my ear, and he'd give it to me. He didn't teach me Sunday school. He never prayed with me, but he was always at church. And I know he was a faithful person, not looking to have me glorify him, but he welcomed me in the church. He made me feel special. He gave his time to be with the kids. And I stand here as a pastor today, partly because of that saint. So people of God, will you stand upon the shoulders of those who come before us? Will you give your time, your treasure, your talent? Will you make an effort to do something special here? We're on the verge of doing wonderful, wonderful things. But we need it. I can't do it alone. Leo can't do it alone. Staff can't do it alone. Our usher who's here every single Sunday can't do it alone. God needs you. And if you but give of your time with joyful abundance, oh, what good things might come. Amen.